Thach Sanh story. In the past, in Sao Bin district, there was a couple named Mr. Thach Nia who was old and had no children. The husband and wife were worried day and night, working even harder to do good deeds, such as opening sewers, digging ditches, building roads, dredging wells, and cooking water to help passers-by drink, hoping that heaven would look back and give them a child. Sure enough, later Thach Ba conceived, but did not give birth for 3 years. During that time, Thach Ong died. Thach Ba gave birth to a handsome son, named. A few years later, Thach Ba also passed away, and Thach Sanh has since lived alone in a hut under a banyan tree, with only a loincloth to cover his body and a hammer to chop wood. When Thach Sanh was 13 years old, the Jade Emperor sent fairies to teach him all martial arts and magical powers. One day, a wine seller named Li Thong passed by and stopped to rest. Seeing that Thach Sanh was healthy, orphaned, and could be taken advantage of, he became brothers and brought Thach Sanh home. At that time, there was a python, or ogre, that often forced people to eat meat. The army several times besieged and attacked it, but it had many magical powers, so no one could do anything. The king had to order the establishment of a temple, and every year he had to pay one person's life to it. That year it was Li Thong's turn to turn himself in. When my mother heard the news, she panicked and discussed a plan to send Thach Sanh to die instead. That afternoon, when Thach Sanh came back from cutting wood, Li Thong served him wine, then said, "There's an important matter today. The court has assigned you to guard the temple, strictly because you were too late to store the batch of wine, for fear of ruining your work at home. I hope you will take the trouble to go for me for one night." Thach Sanh did not suspect anything and immediately left. In the middle of the night, in the middle of the forest, suddenly the wind shook the trees, the air was cold, the python appeared, raised its claws and bared its fangs, breathed fire, approaching to eat Thach Sanh. Thach Sanh calmly and magically fought with the python. After a while, the monster was killed and turned out to be a large python. Thach Sanh cut off his head and brought it back. When I got home, the third watch ended. Thach Sanh called at the door. Li Thong and her mother thought it was Thach Sanh's soul coming back to take revenge. In the house, mother and son kept bowing and praying. Thach Sanh understood that the two people's intentions were to deliberately lead him to death, but Sanh was gentle, not angry, and happily told the story of killing pythons to Li Thong and his mother. After hearing this, Li Thong came up with a sinister plan. It threatened Thach Sanh that python tin had been kept by the king for a long time. If he killed him now, he would certainly be sentenced to death. Then he advised Thach Sanh to escape, leaving him at home to find a way to return to his old village at the banyan tree. As for Li Thong, he toured the capital night and day. According to the king, he was able to eliminate the python and he was appointed admiral by the king. At that time, the king's daughter wanted to choose a husband-in-law and posted messages throughout the people, sending messages to the countries, but could not choose anyone she liked. One day the princess was walking in the flower garden when suddenly an eagle goblin swooped down and stole it away. By chance, the eagle flew over the banyan tree where Thach Sanh was sitting absent-mindedly under the tree. Thach Sanh saw this and immediately shot a shot through his bow and arrow, hitting the wing. But the eagle pulled out the arrow and continued to fly away. Thach Sanh followed the red blood trail and saw the eagle crawl into a very solid cave. He marked the entrance to the cave and returned. When he heard that the princess had been stolen by a monster and was missing, the king was heartbroken and ordered Li Thong to look for her, promising to marry her and pass the throne to her when he found her. Li Thong was both happy and worried, so he devised a plan to hold a singing festival for 10 days, so that people could come to see the purpose to inquire and hear the news. 8 or 9 days had passed, but no one had heard a word about the incident. Eagles catch people. The news of Li Thong holding a singing festival reached Thach Sanh's ears. He returned to visit and met Thach Sanh. Li Thong expressed his concern that he could not find the princess. Thach Sanh honestly told about hitting the bird's wing. Li Thong was very happy and immediately asked Thach Sanh to lead the way and bring soldiers to the monster's lair. Thach Sanh volunteered to go down to the cave to find the princess for his friend. Sure enough, meeting the princess there, Thach Sanh took the anesthetic and told the princess to give it to the eagle to drink. Thach Sanh tied the princess to a rope and signaled Li Thong outside the cave to pull her up. When he finished, he prepared to follow, but Li Thong had already ordered the soldiers to fill the cave. Meanwhile, the eagle woke up. Seeing the loss of the princess, he roared in anger, causing the cliff to shake loudly. But Thach Sanh used magic to fight with it. In the end, the eagle was killed. Thach Sanh groped for a way out, went to a place. He saw an iron cage holding a boy. It turned out that he was the crown prince, son of King Tui Te, who had been imprisoned by the eagle for almost a year. Thach Sanh used a golden bow to shoot down the iron cage and save the crown prince. The crown prince invited Thach Sanh back to the aquarium so that his father could repay his favor. King Tui Te was very happy and offered Thach Sanh countless gold, silver and jewels, but he refused to accept them, only accepting a guitar. After that, he said goodbye to the king and crown prince, went to Earth, and returned to his old place at the banyan tree. At that time, the souls of Python Tin and Eagle, suffering from hunger and thirst, wandering around, lost, happened to meet each other and discussed a plan to take revenge on Thach Sanh. They sneaked into the king's treasury to steal jewels, then brought them back to the banyan tree, Thach Sanh's place. Thach Sanh was arrested and taken to prison. Talking about the princess, from the moment she got out of the cave, she waited for Thach Sanh to come up. Seeing that Li Thong had covered the cave entrance, he became frustrated and became speechless. When she returned to the palace, no one asked her anything and she did not say anything. The sad king ordered Li Thong to set up a prayer altar, but the altar had been up for a month and the princess still could not speak. Just in time for Thach Sanh to be arrested and handed over to Li Thong for trial, Li Thong decided to kill him to avoid future worries. Sitting in prison, Thach Sanh, sad and in love, took out the instrument to play. Unexpectedly, that instrument was a divine instrument. Wherever you play, the harp will tell you the story clearly. It will denounce Li Thong's crime. It will complain about the princess's indifference. It cries out, it moans, it hums in tone after tone. The princess sat upstairs, hearing the sound of the lute and suddenly cheered, laughed and asked her father, the king, to call someone to play the lute. The king asked Thach Sanh to recount the story to the king, from when his parents, learning fairy magic, befriending Li Thong, cutting down a python, shooting an eagle, saved the princess and had the cave entrance blocked. When he saved the son of the king, when he was falsely accused by a demon spirit. The king immediately ordered Li Thong and his mother to be imprisoned, and gave Thach Sanh full authority to decide. Thach Sanh sympathized with Li Thong and her mother as they returned to the village, but along the way they encountered a thunderstorm and both were struck by lightning and died. Next, the king let Thach Sanh marry the princess. The news spread. The crown prince of 18 vassal countries had previously held a grudge for being abandoned by the princess. Now the king married a poor man with torn clothes, and immediately raised his army. The horse came to ask about the crime. The king sent Thach Sanh to defeat the enemy. When fighting, Thach Sanh brought out his guitar to play. The sound of the instrument, when played and picked up, was unusually warm, making the enemy soldiers emotional. Some felt sorry for their children, loved their wives, some missed their homeland. No one thought about fighting anymore. The princes of 18 vassal countries were frightened and quickly surrendered. Thach Sanh prepared a small portion of rice for them to eat, but they could not finish it. They were even more convinced that Thach Sanh bowed their heads and pulled each other back to the country. The king immediately held a ceremony to cede the throne to Thach Sanh. When he ascended the throne, Thach Sanh's first job was to clear taxes, release prisoners, and encourage all people to pursue farming. Since then, the people have been able to live in peace and have a prosperous and happy home. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.